Winners and losers of Dragonflight 10.0.7. Yes, let's see who the winners and losers are today. When the servers go down, only a few can be true champions. Let's see.
Welcome back. So, all excitement for 10.1 aside, 10.07 is actually out next week, and
This week.
with other things, there's
Today.
a huge wave of class changes. So, who wins? Who loses? Is the Paladin rework going to cause every group to have multiple Retribution Paladins for the rest of the bloody expansion?
Maybe.
I mean, they're even
Instead of half the raid being hunters, it's going to be half Retribution
getting
Paladins.
an ability combo, which is pretty damn cool, just like this sponsor combo. BuyRaycon.com/Bellular. That is where you can go to get 15% off site-wide. The link is down below. And it's no wonder that their leading everyday earbuds that I've got on right now have over 50,000 5-star reviews. But if you say want
Get
the
your
fitness
earbuds with the
buds,
Bellular
which step
code.
up the water resistance from IPX6 to IPX7, or the low latency gaming buds, then they've got you covered with those as well.
Nice.
The look and the feel is premium and absurdly comfortable. I mean, almost a custom fit with the included 5 sets
you
of
can't even tell he's wearing
silicone
them.
tips,
Look at that.
which just mean you can get it perfectly. And of course, if I shake my head about, they obviously do stay in, and being half the price of the usual suspects with brilliant passive isolation is just fantastic. The buds also last twice as long as my last one, so these really are just
32
perfect for,
hours.
well, for me, actually lasting the whole workday.
bad.
They will auto-pair for life and reconnect instantly with a 33-foot range, which is so damn handy just day to day. They've got great touch controls for
33
playback,
feet.
volume, sound profiles, and of course your digital assistants. And they will even autoplay pause
Bell,
whenever you remove them from your
Give it
ear.
to the 10.0.7.
So, if you go to buyraycon.com/Bellular, then you're going to get 15% off your first
Get your
order.
earbuds to play the new patch.
There are 4 gorgeous colors to choose from for the everyday buds: carbon black, electric blue, flare red, and rose gold. They look great. So, thanks Raycon for sponsoring. With that said, let's go.
Let's go.
All right, smooth segues aside, let's talk about Paladin. I think we have to do that first, because in what I can only describe as a truly unprecedented move for Blizzard, a spec is going from being violently hated to actually getting an exciting rework.
I'm wondering what the DPS charts are going to look like.
An entire expansion, which is amazing. I mean, hell, they don't even have to wait for a major patch. We're getting it in a minor one. Ret Paladin is an absolute and utter success, though it is not without a few quirks. But still, if every spec got this kind of treatment, we would be absolutely off to the races. The most outstanding thing about it is actually that it happened. But the second important
I wonder
thing
what their next
about this rework
class
is
focus
that
will
it
be.
actually
They put a lot of time into Ret Pally.
succeed in adding an entirely new concept to the game.
Ret Pally's
and that is
dog water on the
combos.
PTR?
It's
What?
simple. Templar Strikes is a new talent that changes Crusader Strike
It's probably because nobody knows what they're
into
doing
a
yet. That's true.
two-part combo. It starts off as a Templar Strike, then when
Testing
pressed,
grounds, maybe all
the
classes will
same
get reworked.
button
Yeah, probably
actually
one at a
turns
time.
into Templar Slash,
Starting with the
which
worst,
is an ability
which
with
probably
a
was
different
Ret Pally.
animation. Okay, it's a small enough change, but
They just
it
buffed
feels
it a
little
few
bit
hours
different.
ago.
And it goes a long
Interesting.
way to making filler feel a bit more fun to press. But while that's neat and all, there's a lot of other things to talk about. So, to boil down a lot of changes very, very quickly. Yes, they keep their same fundamentals. That means Crusader Strike, Judgment, Blade of Justice, Wings, and the same spenders and cooldowns. But they now have
Ret Paladin.
way more interesting interactions.
Ret Paladin has always been a meme. So yes, if you're concerned, that's viable. I mean, literally, S-Fan became popular because he was playing Ret Paladin back when nobody did. And it was just like, it was a meme. The man became popular as a meme because Ret Paladin was so bad. So let's see if this rework really came through.
And a whole ton of new options, like Templar Strikes, which
I think it'll be funny if my entire raid is Ret
and
Paladins.
it's on a choice mode.
We all know
with
that'll happen if it's really
Crusading
good.
Strikes, which basically turns Crusader Strike into a passive, like with Warrior and Demon Hunter filler. So I guess that's pretty good if you want to bust some RSI. You can make Consecration drop automatically if you want,
parsing
when
their Ret
pressing
Pallies.
Blade, or replace it, maybe, with Divine Hammer, which is on a 20-second cooldown. Basically, fewer buttons if you want, or more. There's even options to customize where you put some cooldown reduction, Judgment and Crusader Strike, or Blade.
If you played Ret Paladin and Burning Crusade, you were asking to be spit on. That's true.
Of Judgment and Blade, or you can give them 2 charges instead to fill, every last GCD. There's actually quite a lot of gameplay texture that the player can now modify for themselves. And one of the smartest things that they've done is they've totally solved the Retribution Mastery issue. That is, their Mastery buffs holy damage by a lot, but then the few abilities that don't do holy feel pretty terrible as a result. So now they've got 2 options. Turn most of their physical single target abilities into Holy Strike, which benefits from everything holy and physical.
Make everything holy. That's a good way to solve the holy problem.
Mastery, penetrating armor, even getting the same benefit from the 5% damage increase that you'll be getting from both the Monk and Demon Hunter debuffs. Or they can do the same to most of their AoE abilities, except it's called Radiant Damage, which is holy and fire instead. So it's a smart enough way for Blizzard to keep the flavor while solving the issues. They also have some other major issues fixed. One was how bursty they were, but then they were a complete wet noodle outside of their very tiny cooldown window.
I've seen Ret Paladins like burst on trash and just go off,
then,
like top the charts by a mile. But yeah, after that,
node,
they went limp.
You do not need to stack.
They were like a 2-pump and done.
Of huge damage at the expense of feeling really weak outside of that. For the rotation then, this basically means a lot of the worst issues have been cleaned up for them. You can swim in buttons, press a lot fewer buttons if you want, or anything in between.
That hammer coming
it's pretty
down.
much
I love
all
that
up
animation.
to your build.
That's
your
badass.
filler is either going to be gone or more fun. Your burst is there, but it's less dominating on the overall damage profile, and you've generally got passive interactions that feel pretty damn good. On the defensive side of things then, Blizzard said that, they're actually the class with the highest death rate, which, considering that they can self-heal, have Divine Shield, and wear plate, was really quite a bizarre thing, but it is what Blizzard said. Who knows? Maybe that's down to the Ret Paladins, but whatever, the data does not lie. So it's been time for buffs.
Does that say something about the class or the people who play the class? I don't know. That's an interesting stat. They have the most deaths in the game.
Now you've got Divine Protection and Shield of Vengeance, as well as a new choice between an automatic free Word of Glory at 25% HP or a Flash of Light.
The class is paper, is it? Man, they're still wearing plate, though, and they have bubble, they have self-heal. Like, how are you dying as a Retribution Paladin? Come on. There's so many ways to not die.
Ret's probably going to feel as sturdy as it should. Next, then, utility and movement,
7-year-olds
which
playing
have been a sticking issue. So, Unbound Freedom should go far. It's 30% move speed with Freedom.
They're less takey than a DK.
That added 1 second to Divine Steed now adds 2 seconds. So this is nothing insane, but it's an improvement. It'll do. Then we've got the new reworked Ret Aura, which is really awesome.
Either way, it looks like they fixed that problem.
Anytime a raid member takes 30% of their HP as damage at once, the raid gets 5% damage and healing, which will then decay over 30 seconds. Now, this should basically have very, very high uptime, and that will keep the flavor of Ret Aura around, but it actually will work a bit more like a standard group buff. Then the class tree also has a talent that gives Divine Storm a 3% max HP heal for you and 4 of your friends, which, isn't the biggest in the world, but it will actually
kind of good for Mythic Plus.
Stack up since it is just passive healing.
Passive healing.
So that does leave it with the actual fantasy of being a tanky melee DPS with strong off healing. That's actually quite a real fantasy. I mean, they even bothered to fix worst.
With Retribution, imagine you bring a Blood DK as a tank. You got a Ret Pally as DPS, and then you got a healer. Pick your healer. That's a lot of healing. You got a tank, Blood DK like myself. You're going to overheal the shit out of yourself. You got passive healing from the Ret Pally, and then you got healing from your healer. That's going to be a well-healed Mythic Plus group.
Parts of the
and an Evoker, make the Evoker the healer. Oh my god.
Seraphim moving out of there, at long last, and Dusk and Dawn being fixed instead of a maintenance buff to keep up.
Well, to be fair, Finn,
issues. Now,
nothing's comparable to
basically
DK.
happens automatically as
we're always
play.
The best.
Yes, the gameplay is lost, but most people hated it anyway. So now it's just a cool passive. As to whether they're actually strong or not, we obviously have to wait until the patch goes live.
Yeah.
Tuning could obviously ruin everything we've talked about here, and it could limit the
Tuning can change things. Also, tier set bonus could change things a lot in a
that
good way.
technically has been
Tier set could
granted
take
with the
them
core design
off
changes
the
here.
cliff or something.
But I will say that on the design and playability front, this is a massive win. Paladins, they've finally given you what you really did
There you go.
deserve. I mean, for the longest time in our
Big
stream,
winners.
we had Paladins super chatting to like just say, "Hey, Paladins, we're scuffed." Like, it was really big within the Paladin community. This is really the gold standard for taking a look at a spec.
The nice thing is, if you love playing Paladin, there's going to be so many ways for you to just make a Paladin. Damn it, you got me. You fucking got me with that damn knock. Welcome back to the stream, lords, you bitch. What was I saying? The Paladin, you could easily make one and gear it out so quick. There are so many like catch-up abilities right now. You could go Paladin if you decide to for the rest of the expansion and gear it out right away. What's up, lords?
The players are taking issue
That
with.
fucking
It is,
knock, man. It's
yes,
gonna be a heart
familiar,
attack.
but it is obscenely better. A fun part then is that Prot and Holy are also getting a bunch of changes too, since of course the class tree did need quite a lot of work. Protection is getting some general buffs and talent shuffles with a new talent buffing Eye of Tyr, and one that heals them when they heal others with Word of Glory.
I actually still think Prot Paladin is good for Mythic
So
Plus.
that's
Like,
nice. Generally pretty sweet
I didn't think
changes
they were in that
overall.
bad of a spot,
The
but
one
maybe
real
I'm
nice
wrong.
change is Focused Enmity. It used to make Avenger Shield only hit one target, but do double damage. Now it does double
had
damage
to,
when
no.
it hits
I
one
appreciate
target,
it.
but
I
it still
tease.
can hit multiple, which is nice. Holy then just mostly benefits from the class tree changes and Blessing of Dusk and Dawn being fixed, but it is nice all the same. Anyway, Paladins, you obviously get to be in the winners category.
yes.
And of course, what about the other winners and then the losers?
Yeah,
I've got to be real
okay,
with you.
okay, who else won?
Almost anyone who gets a change in this patch is just winning, though some more so than others.
So a lot of people
Let's
are
go
winning.
through them.
Let's see.
Frost DK sees a nice talent tree reshuffle and some more freedom.
You know,
with
Death
points,
Knights can't
as
stop
well
winning.
As runic power costs
can't.
going up and damage going up to match for both Frost Strike
the best class in
and
the game.
Breath.
That's all I'm saying.
Basically, it is trying to basically bring the reliance on insanely long Breath of Syndragosas down and make it harder to overcap with obliteration builds. They
Nice.
basically have
Obliteration
too much runic
builds.
power right now.
Spam
and
that
obviously
shit.
Breath of Syndragosa thing.
I actually love Frost.
A lot of players do not like that.
After
And
Blood, it's
no
my
joke,
second
Frost
favorite
DKs
spec.
they can keep Breath up for entire fights, and if that ends up going wrong,
Breath
it is
an
a pretty
entire
insane
fight,
amount of
holy
damage. So it just
shit.
hasn't really worked out for a lot of people. Ultimately, then, this should result in similar damage, but a bit less risk and a bit more burst, which I suppose will be nice enough for Mythic Plus and when it's needed in Raid. In other news then, a new talent letting killing machines stack twice is pretty brilliant. That, well, may I suppose be Obliteration's time to shine too. Unholy DK then, you are getting a minor shuffle of Defile to basically
I mean,
make
right
it a
now
lot more
Unholy's in a good
attractive, as
spot.
well as a buff, and some
I don't
nice
think they
bug
really need
fixes
much.
to Commander of the Dead. Mostly, it is pulling talents together, which may open up some new build options for you, which is pretty good. Resto Shamans. Okay,
Ooh.
they in particular are getting quite a lot here. Their class tree is getting a bunch of buffs and
Does
good
anybody
shuffles
else
across
always
the board.
feel like shamans are like the redheaded stepchild? I always feel like shamans are getting the short out of the stick. Like they're always forgotten. Nice to see them getting some
So
love here.
essentially, they're able
I know
to
they've
pick up
gotten
a
some
bit more
reworks
utility, which
recently.
is real
Like
nice.
Blizzard's been giving them
The
more
spec
attention.
itself is then getting a ton of extra damage on their spells, though
Oh,
it
nice.
does come
Resto
at
shaman
the cost
damage.
of a chunky Acid Rain nerf, a few talents moved to baseline, and
Shamans
a
still
few
exist.
new ones in their place. And some of these are really cool. There's a Mana Tide Totem buff that gives them a 10-second window of cheap and fast heals. So that, I think, will be quite
That
fun
sounds
to play
good.
with. And there's some nice ones that buff Healing Tide as well. Basically, it's a lot of minor issues fixed too, like, say, Earth Shield getting some damage reduction, and, of course, just a flat 8% buff to healing, which will feel
Well,
better.
that'll fix
All in
things.
all, then,
Just an 8%
Blizzard seem
buff.
to have done a fairly
Straight
good
up.
job at rescuing a spec that otherwise was, sort of teetering into the trash can with
I've been seeing some
Dragonflight,
Resto
so maybe
Shamans
it is a
queuing
little
up for
bit
raid
more their
lately.
time to shine. For the Havoc DH, then, you get your talented I-Beam duration brought down, but the damage brought up. So
Okay.
it doesn't last as long, but the damage sort of compensates there. I think it ends up
So you
being
got
a
some
slight
rapid
nerf to
pumping
Fury
going on rather than
Generation,
some
but what it does
slow
do
motion of the
is it
ocean.
saves one global cooldown, and it does reduce the likelihood of maybe mistakes with early cancels or, you know, just getting swirlied in a raid. So overall, I think better. Fodder then also got some small fixes like spawning closer and the soul it drops coming even closer to the DH. You know, tiny changes, but it's keyhole surgery. You know, it's minimum impact, maximum, I guess, result. That's the analogy. Whatever. Resto Druid time. All right, Resto. They've been the kings of healing, and they're getting some nice stuff.
Resto Druids.
Like a new talent allowing clear casting to stack, hopefully helping their mana issues, and the return of Deep Focus, which opens up some insane single
Mag will
target
appreciate this
focus damage, though their reshuffle targets a popular Mythic Plus build, and does make that a little bit like just more
I do
awkward,
feel like
I
sometimes
guess.
they have mana
I suppose
issues in
Blizzard
Mythic
just didn't
Plus
like
runs.
their dominance there. They
That's good
are,
to
of
see
course,
that
the most
kind of
popular
fixed.
healer in the game right now. So, you know, if you're at the top of the hill, you kind of have to expect you'll be knocked down a bit. We're still going to call this a winner, though, because some things are
They're still going to be near the top.
you know, you're not really being hit that hard. Mistweaver, then. Mistweaver is getting plenty of love. Some issues arose.
That's good,
with
'cause I love-
their new
I love
talent in the
monks. I love their
last patch,
utility in
and
raid.
those are basically being solved, so they
Or
can
in Mythic
target the
Plus.
buff that they want instead of getting
Meme
some
Weaver?
numbers turned up. And then Thunder Focus T gives them instant enveloping mists, and their Celestials actually get a new absorb element. So overall, great changes, but they are still quite underrepresented in gameplay, so they do kind of
Yeah, I
need
don't
it.
see a lot of
Windwalker
Mistweavers.
then is getting a lot more max energy from Inner Peace, and they're getting a choice. Yes, a choice between Sky Reach, the Tiger Palm Dash, and Sky Touch, which is
Okay.
a version with the same effect, but without the micro dash. Sky Reach is cool, of course, but an option that stops monks from, you know, screeching in fear every time that it dashes them into a mechanic, that is also quite nice.
That is
Again,
good, yeah.
minor wins, but wins nonetheless. Warlock time. Oh boy.
Locks.
There's really a lot of shuffling in the class tree for the Warlocks, and a few changes basically
I have not
trying to
seen-
get it to work.
Yeah,
As Blizzard,
Warlocks are kind of in an awkward... I mean, look, Warlocks always have utility. We need their summoning. We need their health stones. We need all that shit, soul stones. It's ridiculous how Warlocks can still get invited into raid even though their DPS has not been in a good spot. I've not seen a Warlock even in the top 5 of our raids in quite a while, even when they're geared as shit. I think they need some
notes,
love.
Niche defensives are being removed, and some basic.
But remember in
throughput,
Shadowlands, they were like
is
top of the
actually
charts
going
like
down
the
its
entire
place.
expansion.
It
felt
should
like.
act as an overall buff to them, and honestly, they probably
Unreal,
won't
yeah.
notice the
Warlocks
things
have not
that
been in a
they're
good spot.
missing. I mean, their Warlocks are still not going to die. Once again, though, massive buffs to the capstone talents. So maybe they'll actually be exciting now. I mean, probably not, but yeah, it is
They
what
just
it is.
need more
To go into
DPS.
their specs then. Affliction Warlock does seem like a bit of a win, but honestly, Warlock is kind of so all over the place that it is hard to tell. But now basically Dark Glare scales better in single target, which does make it a stronger AoE
Mages and
option
Drakthi are the only
because of
casters
Grim
you see at the
Reach.
top. Yeah.
Your instant corruption then is
Yeah, I guess.
baseline instead of a talent, with some
what about
basic
Shadow
extra
Priest, though?
damage being in its place.
Shadow
And
Priests have
then
been
Dread
pumpers
Touch,
too, as
the
far as
single target
casters go.
capstone option for Rapture spam, that lasts a bit longer, so it is stronger and it is easier to maintain, which people will probably
Windwalker
like.
sitting in the
Generally,
corner like a
it
stepchild.
seems
Well,
to
they just talked about it a
shuffle
little
their
bit.
chosen builds around just a little bit for single target and AoE, and it looks like kind of for the better overall. They definitely did need it, though. As for the Demo Lock, well, you are getting your Demonic Tyrant substantially buffed, but you're actually losing the Dreadstalker reset talent. They're also getting a nice Guillotine buff for AoE and a new Capstone choice that will increase single target damage entirely passively. Basically, Blizzard's goal
There
here
was a lot of
seems to
meme
have
weaver.
been,
I don't- maybe they didn't touch at all on,
deprioritizing the rather
on Windwalker.
complicated Demo
Maybe I'm
single
wrong.
target build with Nether Portal and Grand Warlock's design. And that seems to have worked. So if that is in your favor, then nice. Beast Mastery Hunter, then. So obviously it's been a major victim, the prime victim of the Razageth bow
Yeah.
being nerfed in this patch. Because
Yeah,
basically
if you don't know this, the bow got nerfed. It doesn't affect your pet anymore. So essentially that whole get the bow and then stack with Beast Mastery spec and just go fucking off, single target, that doesn't exist anymore.
Blizzard realized way too late that the bow was way too powerful for being just one rare item, and it especially made the pets more powerful.
It was
so basically
super
what
OP.
Blizzard are doing is a significant buff to make up for the bow, which of course means that if you didn't get the bow, enjoy a hefty damage increase on single target and AoE. I mean, yeah. That's basically it. Nice buffs to make up.
No Unreal, but he's only talking about
nice buffs
the
to make
winners
up the
right now, so
bow,
maybe Destruction's not a winner.
So basically,
talk about
that's
the
it for the
losers, too.
winners. There are minor wins for the most part, but hey, they are wins nonetheless. So we do
Minor
have to put
wins,
them in that
except
category.
Red Pally's a big
now,
one, I
though,
guess.
it is time for the fun part, or as an ex-Hunter main, the frustrating part.
The losers.
So, losers then, starting
see.
off with the Marksmanship Hunter. Now, I will disclose my bias here. I do not fundamentally really like the BFA Onward rework. I did prefer the Legion gameplay of Hunter.
Oh, no.
What we are seeing with this patch, though, is broadly the same deal as with BM,
It's a
except
nice transmog
that
on
instead of
that.
such a huge buff, they are only getting a
Damn.
2 to 3% buff because obviously the Razageth bow bug didn't benefit them as much. And also some talent connections give them a little bit more.
What's she wearing? Is she wearing like some Void Elf Heritage armor set? In combination with some...
Which is nice. But I
some
really
other
think that
pieces?
this one
It's
needs
a nice set
a
she's
lot
wearing.
more work.
I'm a bit distracted. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe a paladin amount of work, maybe not a paladin amount of work, but still, I think it just needs some work. I mean, even the removal of double tap in 10.05, like there were buffs to compensate, but I think a lot of players didn't particularly enjoy that. I don't know. I just think that marksmanship is honestly just a little bit lost, and I'm not really sure. I'm not sure Blizzard has a clear pathway to making this current playstyle like way better. Yeah, there's obviously
It is a
room,
Void
though,
Elf
in
Heritage armor
10.1
set.
to make things further
In combination
better
with
still.
something else.
I've heard some stuff along the lines of, say, kill shot giving you a trick shot charge, which is pretty sweet. But as for 10.05,
I don't
not a
see
whole lot.
I don't see a lot of marksmanship
The utility
hunters
is also, I think,
in
quite
Raid. I
lacking
don't.
compared to maybe where a hunter should be, and
They do be
overall, I
lacking.
think they do just feel a little bit ignored. Preservation Evokers then. Okay, yes, you guys are definitely the loser category. You're getting a talent redesign so that instead of your AoE increasing your Echo healing, Echo increases AoE healing, which does seem a lot more useful now, though
Why are
the
they
reason why
losers
you're in
then?
the losers category is a pretty good reason, because your numbers are just being dropped off a cliff.
Oh.
They also did lose what a lot of very good players consider to be a very high skill cap thing. Basically, Golden Hour and Lifebind used to treat echoes applied by Temporal Anomaly when buffed by Resonating Sphere as full echoes. But the thing is that instead of being treated as full echoes, they were actually supposed to be 30% effectiveness. So
I
you
like
can
bringing
imagine then that with
Preservation Evokers.
ideal ramping, you could do some utterly
They're getting nerfed.
insane healing. But overall, it does seem that that was an unintended thing. So that is a fairly serious nerf for Raid and Mythic Plus. But it also
They were
does
pumping.
seem like it is one that brings them down to the level of other healers. And, well, the go-to talent builds will almost
Boo,
certainly
yeah,
be a
boo.
little bit different. So you are in the losers category, but a part of that is just because Preservation
so
Evoker
buffed.
was giga strong.
Yeah, they were
initially.
so buff.
Survival Hunter, then. It is getting very tiny buffs as a byproduct
Does
of
anybody
the Hunter
play
general
Survival
buffs,
Hunter?
but otherwise, I think they are still alone in the wilderness, rather unloved. No utility advantages basically make up for becoming the melee hunter versus the other hunters, especially like BM, which basically gets to be a ranged melee and how they can just always run and move when they're casting. I think there's not enough damage to maybe make them feel worth playing over any of the other melee. You know, it's not terrible. It is totally playable. It's just another
I feel like
patch
I'd
where
never see Survival
there probably
Hunters.
could have been an opportunity to give a consolation prize
Unless
to the
there's
Survival
some kind
Hunters,
of kink in
but
real life. They have to be
there
kink
isn't.
in real life to play
I
to
would
pay
say at
Survival
least
Hunter.
if the big issues of the spec can't be fixed, maybe just giving them a little bit of a buff to reward the players who are sticking through it, that maybe would be nice. Guardian Druid then, yeah, so we all did get a little excited that in 10.05 you got your AoE rage dump, but there still are big issues with Guardian.
Spam that shit. Spam that AoE.
Because it's just in a bad place, and this patch does absolutely nothing to help it out.
That's
it's
all
just
I
one
feel
of those
like
specs that sticks out.
Druid tanks
it's
do.
basically
You
the
just
worst
see 'em
tank in the game in terms of its
fucking
tankiness,
AoEing the shit out of
damage,
everything.
and gameplay right now, with really no solutions being offered. Like with survival, it's not unplayable or anything. Maybe you will
Beast
actually
Mastery
really
is
quite
just
like
the
it,
hunter's
especially
class
if you
to
like
play.
the fantasy.
It's the hunter spec.
It's just that you'll be doing a good bit more work for less results than literally anybody else. So, yeah, they get to be a loser because they're one of the things that stands out. Of course, my hope, though, is that seeing what just happened with the Retribution Paladin, then maybe the likes of, well, Survival and Guardian, perhaps especially Guardian, maybe it shows that they could be a bit more in line for a change in perhaps 10.15 or 10.17. So that's it for the big losers then. If the class that you wanted to know about has not been mentioned in this video, then assume that it is pretty much the same as it was before.
So
If
Blood
it
DK is still
already
big
sucked
dick? Is that what
and
he's
it
saying?
wasn't
That's- I
touched,
think that's
then
what
it
he's saying.
would be in our loser pile. So that means you're probably in the clear. Now, the only complicated one is Mage, because the Mage specs seem to be riding that line, perhaps, between perfectly fine and needing love. But it sort of depends on who
I've
you
seen
ask.
mages
I'd maybe suggest
lately.
mages as a whole are maybe minor losers. I don't mean mages are losers, I mean in the loser category. But again, that's just down to not getting any attention when perhaps they need just a little bit in order to feel good. To touch on the rogues are more or less fine. Any issues there aren't major.
Remember,
enough
rogues used to be top of the
calling them
chart.
out.
They're still good, though.
Priests got a small handful of changes, but none of them
Shadow
are
Priest
big
is
and meaningful,
insane
except for
right
a
now.
few holy talents being buffed. And a Shadow Priest rework is actually coming up in 10.1.
What?
It seems to be a bit mixed right now, but obviously it's very
thought
early
Shadow
days,
Priest
so
was
we'll
in
have
a
to see
great
how it pans
spot.
out. And I guess then all this means that we'll probably have to make a similar video to this one in maybe 2 months, because yeah, 10.1 is going to have a bunch of class changes. And this idea of having class changes within an expansion is just great. I mean,
I remember
Waterworld,
Arcane was top
so
for a
much
while,
better
but yeah,
than the
it's
last
not anymore.
2 expansions. So thumbs up to Blizz. Credit where it's due, absolutely.
Nice to see
Thanks
them
you for
doing some
watching, of
reworks
course,
on a
and,
small
hey,
patch.
Enjoy playing that Ret Paladin in 10.07.
Yeah, Ret
I think
Paladin's
everybody
gonna be
else
everywhere.
will, and honestly, I know I will, because, well, I feel like they went to the effort. I'm going to meet them, I'm going to meet them there and actually give it a shot. Properly play it. Ah, dear. All right. Good news.
So what did we learn
Great
from this
day.
video?
I'll see you next time.
We're about to have half a raid of Ret Paladins every time we form up raid. Yep. This is going to be the Crusade patch. Everyone's going to be Ret Paladins.